All right, everybody. Today is Christmas Eve, and I wanted to share with you what I call my first Christmas. So, I don't know how many people can remember their first Christmas. For me, in reality, I can't remember my first Christmas. I grew up in Ohio in a Christian home, and so we always celebrated Christmas. And we always went to church for Christmas, and I understood as I got older the significance of Christmas, that Jesus, God's Son, came to earth to redeem us from our sins. I understood that conceptually, but it was all tied up into the traditions, the gifts and the presents and the songs and the candlelight services at midnight, if anybody else remembers those. So it was all tied together. And I understood the significance, I think, mentally, but it didn't mean as much as it did to me later. So when I'm talking about my first Christmas is when I went to Kenya, and our first year in the mission field, our first Christmas was very memorable. We were living um, about 3 hours drive from town, and so we were in the village that had the largest church, had a roof for their church. And so for Christmas, it was all new to us. We didn't know really what to expect. And we went to the church service. It was in their summer, a hot, dry season. And so it was at least 120, 130, somewhere in there. And you could see the heat coming off the sand through the acacia trees. And while we were sitting there singing songs, the group would just slowly gather. There wasn't one set start time. So people would keep coming in. You'd see groups of people walking. Some people had walked 2 hours to get there. And as the group continued to get bigger and bigger, the songs would get louder and louder. And at its peak, there were probably 300 or 400 people all jumping in unison, screaming the songs together. And I don't know how to describe it so that you get a perfect picture of it. There's no way quite to do it, but just screaming in joyous voices. And the one song I really remember, everybody was jumping in unison, yelling out, Eki, Eki, Eki Dorangara, which means the door, the door, the door to heaven is open. And that experience pointed out to me I felt like I finally felt the true significance of Christmas. That before Jesus came to earth, there was no way for us to be with God because of our sinful nature. We could try to do things to make up for our sinful nature, but being human, we would always sin again. And it wasn't until Jesus came, died on the cross, and our sins were forgiven that the door to heaven was opened. And finally, we were able to be with God, or in the presence of God. So this Christmas, I hope you have a great time with family and friends and get to enjoy all the traditions of Christmas. But I also hope you get some quiet time to reflect on the great gift that Christmas celebrates, that a God would send his only son, and through his son's death, he will overlook all of the sins that we commit and all of our shortcomings and all of our failures, and will accept us for who we are, as we are, just because of faith in his son. So I hope you have a great holiday, a great Christmas. I hope your family is blessed, and I appreciate you joining me with this podcast and channel, and look forward to many more episodes together next year. Thanks.